Now, we've been seeing the emasculation of men all over Hollywood movie, TV shows, male celebrities wearing these damn female clothing, and even our own women berating us, telling us that everything that we do is toxic, that we should be killed.
We need to kill all men.
But what if I told you that the emasculation of men actually dates back to the 18th century? That is what we're talking about here today. So without further ado, let's get into it. We need a definition of what emasculation means. Emasculation means to deprive a man of his role, his strength, his identity, his vigor, his virility, his ability to procreate. So all in essence, a man's ability to provide, to protect, to be strong, not only just physically, but to be also strong mentally, to be able to procreate as well. Remember that definition as we move forward in this video. So today, y'all, we're talking about the Willie Lynch letter. This was back during slavery times, and although these tactics we're going to talk about were geared more towards my people, these techniques are still being used to this day against all men. So in 1712, a bunch of slave owners, they got one of their biggest wishes to come true. And that was to bring Willie Lynch over to America to teach them how to control their black slaves so that they can produce the most productivity and profit off of them. Now, Willie Lynch, he was the most praised British slave owner in the West Indies for how he controlled his black slaves in his plantation. The term lynching derives from his last name, but he said it's to be used as a means of a last resort, because to lynch a N-word is to waste profit, and you don't want to waste profit. So we're going to get into some of the key points in the rest of his speech in this letter. If you happen to give a damn, I'm going to leave it in the description for you if you want to see the full letter. But let's get into some of the key points in this letter. This mofo started out by saying, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. And I guarantee you, every one of you, if implemented correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. So we're in 2024 right now. That's about what, 312 years ago? Let's see if some of these tactics, these methods are still being used to this day. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks, but it is necessary your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are the keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensively for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. Woo, that hit a nerve. So Willie Lynch, he was a man that studied psychology, and he said you could break a black man, a slave, the same way you could break a wild horse. But historically, a black man has been strong, not only just physically, but he's also been strong mentally, spiritually. But Willie Lynch found that there was only one weakness, one vulnerability of that black man, and that was through his woman, his black queen. So it's natural tendency for a male human and for a wild horse to want to provide and to protect their offspring and their female. So Willie Lynch's first principle is you remove that man's ability to protect and provide for his family. Long hours whipping that black man to the inch of death, it did not work in breaking him. The only thing that worked was contempt from his woman for his inability to be in his role to protect and provide for her and her baby. When this happens, that black man will start to question himself as a man, and then he will be easier now to use for productivity and profit for the slave owner because he doesn't have the will anymore to resist. You take his mind, just use his body. So I got to get a little graphic with you with how they did the breaking process. So you've been warned. They used to take the black man and they used to force the offspring and the female to watch that black man getting whipped to the inch of death. They also used to rape the woman in front of the black man. They even went as far as raping the black man in front of that woman. So every single day that woman would be contemptuous towards that man for his inability to protect her in her most vulnerable moments. So when this happens, the black man now, he's not able to resist anything anymore. So you can move him to another plantation so that you could use him now to make more babies so that you can continue this process over and over and over. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he left his shovel was his home. It was a fucking joke. Listen, this is fucking fucked up shit, man. We gotta laugh a little bit at something. How does all this break a woman? A woman now that is left alone, no man, unprotected. The black male image now is destroyed for her. She now becomes psychologically independent. We call that nowadays a strong, independent black woman. And when you now are a strong, independent black woman, you now will raise your offsprings in reverse roles. So a male is going to be raised now to be psychologically dependent, to be weak, because she fears that the same fate that happened to her husband will now happen to her offspring. And when it comes to the female, she will train her to be just like her, psychologically independent, contemptuous towards men, feeling like she can't be protected, got to do everything by herself. And what Willie Lynch says now, what you just created, is you created a black male that now is scared in the back. And now this black N-word woman is at the front. And when you continuously breed a bunch of scared black males with independent black women, you can now be shipping these offsprings on and on and on and on and on. And you can continue this cycle of producing profit and productivity. Oh, this tell me this isn't crazy. This is still happening to this day. Women now at an all-time high now, there's a bunch of single mothers that are teaching their children, their males, to be psychologically dependent and the women to be psychologically independent. Too many of these boys that are 35, 40 years old still living at home thinking it's okay with their moms, they son husbands. You got to stop this shit, yo. Stop letting all these indoctrination of teaching us this is what we need to do. You don't need men, you don't need women. We need each other. Stop the bullshit now. And the last thing in which I have to mention is, because a lot of y'all probably are familiar with this letter and you're saying something right now, there is a lot of scholars that have questioned the authenticity of this letter. They even question if Willie Lynch even existed. Now, I'm not going to try to fight the validity of this letter, whether this is true or not. All I'm concerned about is, are these techniques, are these tactics still being used to this day? And I could attest that most of y'all are going to say yes. So women, the next episode, second episode of the Emasculation of Men series is for you. You guys are helping and aiding the emasculation of men. A lot of y'all are doing it without even realizing it. Some of y'all are doing it while realizing it. Y'all not the whole cause of it, but I'm saying that you are aiding to it. So we're going to have a conversation about that on the next episode, y'all. So until next time, y'all, make sure that question, why, it's being used on your part every single day. Peace.